Hello everyone, Mikkel here from Expat Money. I am super excited today. I am traveling with my friend Marco and a group of us through Colombia. So Marco, you've been living here for what, 5-6 years now?
About 5 years, yeah.
5 years. Okay, so I'm curious your opinions on Colombia. Is it a good destination for expats? How have you found your time here?
Yeah, so I've been living in Latin America for 16 years now. And before we came to Colombia, we actually spent quite some time traveling around the world, looking at what could be really the best locations, or what, at least according to our criteria, could be the top locations around the world. And so we looked at many places, and in the end, I ended up back in Latin America, in Antioquia, in Medellin, more specifically, because this is where, for what is important to me, I find the best mix of attributes, and this is where I spend a significant chunk of my time.
Okay. Well, I hitchhiked and backpacked through Central and South America back in 2002, 2003. And I came into Colombia. I spent 2 months here back then. And I have been to Medellin before, but it is completely non-recognizable from back then. In the 16 years that you've been traveling through Latin America, and specifically the 5 years here in Colombia, have you seen the country grow a lot?
Yeah, Colombia is definitely on a significant growth trajectory, seeing very high economic growth. And one big reason for that is that they implemented the peace treaty with the FARC in 2016. Now, granted, there's a lot of problems with that, and it's not implemented very well, but it's since then, and even before then, been relatively stable. And so historically, because of all these guerrilla problems, the infrastructure here in the country is very poor, or was very poor. And we're here in the Andes Mountains. The Andes mountain ranges in Colombia splits in like three different ranges. So you have very distinct cultures in each valley, and they haven't been very well connected in the past. So now they're building what's called the fourth generation highway network, and you see massive infrastructure development everywhere, tons of bridges and new highways connecting the entire country. So that is, of course, a huge boost, because maybe in the past you need to send a truck from A to B and it took 3 days, and now it only takes 1 day. So it makes huge difference in terms of efficiency, and it is a big boon for the economy. But not just the road network. There's like new here in our area, we have a big new power plant under construction, and there's just so much happening all over the country. So it has been growing a lot, and even in the short time that I've been here, I mean, 5 years is quite some time, but it's also not that long. And I've seen a significant transformation of the cityscape in Medellin.
Well, we drove in yesterday. It was supposed to be, I think, 2.5 hour drive. And there was actually a road closure while they were doing construction or clearing the mudslides there. And it was 2 hours, from 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. So everybody got out of their cars. There was the radio going. People were having picnics. Everyone was chit-chatting. It was pretty wild to see. And there must have been 1,000 cars in line. But they are investing in the infrastructure here.
Yes, they certainly do. So in terms of growth, we have a lot of growth, but then on the other hand, we'd be remiss to not mention also that Colombia was hit very severely by the lockdowns last year. So the country had a very strict lockdown. Now it's one of the shining lights, if I look around the globe, one of the very few countries that is completely open, nothing required to enter the country. Pretty soon they're doing away with the masks as well, like the last remnant of the pandemic. So it's completely open again. We see a lot of growth, but if we look at also the negative sides, of course, there's high levels of poverty that was getting better for many years, and now there has been a slide back due to the lockdown. So a lot of families that have been maybe middle class before finding themselves more on the poorer spectrum now. So hopefully, as things are now getting back to normal and growing again, this will move in the right direction again. And really, the only other significant factor that I see here in terms of that is we have actually one of the biggest refugee situations going on worldwide. We have around 2 million Venezuelan refugees in the country, so they're of course also a drag on the economy, and you see a lot of beggars in the streets. So that's something that changed over the last few years. But if I look into the future for the next 10 years in Colombia, I see a very bright and positive future, and it's one of the reasons I am here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because we've been going out for dinner and drinks, every lunch, every night, like over and over and over again. We were out a couple of nights ago, and you took us for a walk, my wife and I, and it was crazy. It was like there was no pandemic, there was nothing going on. Yes, we saw some masks, but I mean, there must have been 50,000 people out there partying and having fun and drinking, and it was just wild to actually watch. So as you say, this is a beacon of hope in the world, if people are looking for a place to go and have a normal life again, I would definitely put Medellin at the top of the list.
Yeah, I mean, it's my preferred choice, and I see it being my preferred choice for the foreseeable future. Now, of course, we do have elections coming up next year, and there is a possibility that things might not go very great with a move to the left. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I think Colombia will do just fine and make the right choice. But it's a non-zero possibility, so you can't discard it entirely. So that's something to be aware of. But overall, I'm not too worried about it. I think things will keep progressing here. You also have to keep in mind, like, the 80s and 90s were a terrible time for the country here. And so that's where people that are now in their 30s, they had their childhood, right? And they want nothing of this anymore. It's still fresh in their memories. So they are very well aware of the risks of the populism and the leftism that is so popular these days. So I think the population is smart enough, and the way things work is developed enough for things to progress their way. And Colombians in general want nothing more than to leave the ugly past behind and to look towards a brighter future.
Well, I would also hope with hosting a border next to Venezuela and seeing what's happened there with the rise of socialism, that maybe they will learn their lesson and not fall for the same traps that all these countries do. But I also wanted to say that I live in Panama, and for Panama, it is the central of the offshore markets, and all of my friends are lawyers and service providers and CPAs, and it makes a lot of sense. I'm kind of curious. Your background is crypto trading, these types of things. Do you think that Medellin is a good spot to be in for your type of work? Do you meet other people who are interested in these?
I mean, I'm not invested or follow much the local projects here, because it's more at the, let's say, subsistence survival level where people protect their meager savings. So we're seeing a high level of adoption in Latin America in general, specifically in Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia, that are companies that struggle significantly economically. So we see at the grassroots level a lot of adoption there. Now they're trying to move the space forward and be more proactive. But in terms of the projects I invest in and that I'm involved in, they are based in Singapore, they are based in Switzerland, they're based in the US. So none of them is actually based here.
Okay. Because I did notice, not from the project side, but when walking down the street, I saw Bitcoin posters. We went to a cafe and they had a big screen with live price updates. I've seen Bitcoin ATMs and things like that on the street. So what's your opinion with the local people? Are they quite receptive to this new technology?
Well, I wouldn't really know in terms of the broader population, because it's not that I know it that well, but I know definitely that from a grassroots level, there's a lot of activity. I noticed there's more and more of the Bitcoin ATMs, so that seems to be a growth area. But in terms of taking a broad sample of the population, I mean, I doubt that at the more higher stratus of society, it's very relevant.
Okay. It's just interesting to get these types of insights from someone who lives there and then works in the crypto space as well, because we've seen what's happening with El Salvador, with Panama possibly going in this direction. I'm curious what other Latin American countries are going to start adopting this technology.
Yeah. I mean, now that we are still in a bull market, I think things will go really well for El Salvador, because not only do they save hundreds of millions a year from the remittance fees, but now they have broad adoption in the population, and Bitcoin is going up, so everybody's getting wealthier. So it's good for them. How it goes over the middle to long term when then Bitcoin is in a bear market remains to be seen. But I think in general, it's a good example. And I think a lot of smaller companies will follow this lead, especially when they see how well El Salvador is doing. Now, they might implement it right at the peak. It might not go so well for them. But in general, the trend nonetheless is in that direction for sure.
Okay, brilliant. So do you think that Colombia is going to be a part of your life going forwards? Is this just, a little bit more? Do you think that this is going to be like a place that you want to call home for a long time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have significant investments here in real estate and in businesses, and we might increase these investments after the elections next year once that cloud overhang is away.
The dark cloud, yes.
Yeah. So, but definitely, I see myself continue to live here for quite some time now.
Okay, brilliant. So, Marco, thank you so much. If you guys want to find out more about Marco's work, about his crypto trading, you guys can check the link below. Otherwise, go to expatmoneyshow.com/serenity. And then make sure you guys subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. We're putting out a lot of brand new content every single week. We got some really great interviews with Marco. So I want you to check all of those out. Thank you so much, Marco. Everyone, I will see you next time.
Until then.